Full story. Am I the A for leaving my sister's wedding early after her maid of honor humiliated me in her speech? Original post, May 30th, 2024. I, 27F, was a bridesmaid at my older sister's wedding last week. The wedding was beautiful and everything seemed perfect until the reception. During the reception, the maid of honor, who has been my sister's best friend since childhood, gave her speech. It was emotional and all, but then she made a joke about how I was the family screw-up who finally managed to do something right by not messing up my bridesmaid duties. Everyone laughed, but I didn't find it funny. For context, I've had a rough few years. I struggled with my mental health and dropped out of college for a while. I've since gotten my life back on track, but it's still a sensitive topic for me. Hearing that joke in front of all our family and friends wasn't funny at all. My sister's best friend and I never really got along, but still I never expected something like this from her. Especially the day wasn't about me at all, then why bring me in the speech? I tried to stay composed, but I felt the tears coming, so I quietly left the reception and went outside to collect myself. My sister followed me out and asked what was wrong. When I told her, she said it was just a joke and she meant nothing bad. I tried to go back inside, but I just couldn't, and I ended up leaving the wedding early. My parents understand why I was upset, but my sister is angry with me. I do feel terrible for leaving, but I also feel like I had the right to feel hurt and humiliated. Edit. I said nothing at the moment because I didn't want to cause a scene on my sister's special day, and I can't reason with her right now because she will just ask me if I haven't been taking my meds lately. That's what she does when she's angry with me, so I'm giving her some time to maybe realize how her best friend's joke was out of line. Edit 2. Someone asked me if my sister's best friend and I argued before/did I give her a reason to do this. My sister's best friend and I never went past hi. She told me before, few years ago, that she in general doesn't feel comfortable around someone struggling mentally because in her head God only knows what they're capable of. Since she said this/to this day, I just try to avoid her. Relevant comments. Commenter Naya. MOH was being a mean girl. Her point was to be a bitch, and she was. Her speech should have been about the couple who just got married. There was no reason to bring you into her speech at all, except to be mean. MOH should be ashamed of herself, as she is the Hear your sister not seeing this, and her words to you also make her an I'm sorry your sister was crappy to you, maybe show her this thread, OOP. This is what I try to tell my sister. I thought about it again, but I still can't seem to find a reason for her bringing me into her speech. Commenter, downvoted AITA. I bet there's another side of this story. OP. Every story has another side. What am I supposed to do about that? Call my sister and ask her if her best friend up for posting about her side? You think I posted on Reddit for advice without putting myself out there, then what's the point? There is no consensus bot on AITA, but most responses were in TA. Update post, June 6th, 2024, 1 week later. Hi. Thanks to everyone who took the time to comment on my post and gave their opinion/advice without being too harsh. I apologize if my update is messy or confusing. I'll try to cover everything, but I don't know when to add context for clarification. If you think there's any missing info/some parts are confusing, let me know. Original post. The same day I posted, my dad called to check up on me and see if my sister and I had talked things out. When I told him no, he said it's better if we talk about it now, and assured me that I have nothing to apologize for. If my sister thinks she has nothing to apologize for, then the least she can do is make her best friend apologize or fully realize that the joke was out of line. By the way, my brother and I met 4 days ago, and he told me that Ball, my sister's husband, didn't like the way the Mo called me a screw-up in front of everyone, and some of those who was laughed voiced later that they did so out of nervousness to mind it. On Monday, my sister called me to talk. When I made it to her place, her best friend was on the phone and didn't put it down for a second. My sister started by saying that just a few years ago I would have laughed hard and not taken the joke as an insult. I told her maybe some laughed because they don't know the reason she called me a screw-up. For context, when I was 16, something happened, and that's why I struggled mentally really badly between 16 to 18. When I was 17, I was diagnosed with PTSD and later with depression and anxiety. Since then, I don't like it when someone touches my head, especially my hair and the back of my head/neck. My sister knows everything. During our conversation, my sister did most of the talking. At some point, I felt like my sister had called me just to blame me again without trying to understand my perspective. When I tried to talk, she put her hand on the back of my neck and pulled me toward her with each sentence as if to say, "Do you understand?" or "Okay." I hated it and felt irritated. I honestly kept thinking, if I pushes her away, would I be in the wrong? Would they just call me mental and tell family I got physical? I tried to leave, but she insisted that no one was leaving until we sort this out. She told her best friend to just apologize. She refused and reminded my sister that I was the reason her husband got angry at her on their wedding day, because I couldn't take a joke, and when I tried to explain why, Edit. I told her if she had focused her speech on the bride/groom, then maybe he wouldn't have had a reason to be angry. She refused to listen and brushed my words off. She said, "Yeah, whatever, sorry." I was glad it was finally over, and as I was about to leave, I heard her say, "Can't take a joke that everyone knows is true." Both of them laughed, but my sister stopped mid-laugh and apologized. I didn't say anything and left. I think I've had enough. I mean, I know I've had a few rough years. I dropped out of college for a while, fine, but I've since gotten my life back on track. My parents helped me through it all and never made me feel like a burden. At first, I was on some strong meds that made me feel tired/sleepy most of the time. After a while, I started to feel a little better with therapy and my family's support. During that period, it was me, my parents, and my brother. My sister was 3 hours away for a job and used to visit sometimes and would often bring her best friend along with her. Looking back, I don't want to say she hates me, but I know she felt ashamed to have a family member struggling with mental health issues. I don't know how to explain this. I've made up my mind and decided to go and see for now. If my parents and my brother, who were there when I was going through it all, never made me feel that they're ashamed of me, then why would she? I'm still on some meds but feels much better than before. I have a stable job, my own place, and friends who loves me for who I am. I can say I'm proud of myself a little. I love my family to death and tried to maintain a relationship with my sister all these years, but I'm trying to improve myself, not constantly be reminded of what I was a few years ago. Relevant comments. Top commenter for context. When I was 16, something happened, and that's why I struggled mentally really badly between 16 to 18. When I was 17, I was diagnosed with PTSD and later with depression and anxiety. Since then, I don't like it when someone touches my head, especially my hair and the back of my head/neck. My sister knows everything. When I tried to talk, she put her hand on the back of my neck and pulled me toward her with each sentence as if to say, "Do you understand? Or okay?" This is more than enough ammo to just go no contact. She knows about the trauma you went through and blatantly weaponized it against you. And that's just disgusting and cruel. I'm sorry you had to deal with this and I'm glad you are at a point in life where you can enforce your boundaries and appreciate how far you've come. Future reference: if you ever decide to be around or communicate with your sister, I don't think you should be alone with her. You should be able to have a third party that also knows about your past trauma and boundaries there to act as witness, and a mediator if she pulls that kind of shit again. OOP. No, but I don't think I will be around her anytime soon. I'm still a little shaken by the fact that she knows everything and still grabbed me by the back of my neck to prove her point. Commenter: Nah. Your sister has chosen her friend over you. She hasn't apologized. No one is taking accountability that should be. You need to go very LC or NC with this sister. Your parents should be covering this and really championing you. Mo should be pariah by the rest of your family. OP. I've decided to go NC. I want to move on from what happened and everything she said to me before. She said a lot of hurtful things in the past, but the way she tried to shut me up by grabbing me by the back of my neck, I just can't get over it. She doesn't love/respect me enough to not use that against me. Commenter: part of a longer downvoted comment: how would the MOH know that this happened to her? OOP. She brought her best friend home when I was still covered in bruises. Of course, I didn't want to see anyone other than my family, but I was in no condition to voice my wants. I'm sure I left my room at least 2 to 3 times and she saw me. Besides, she brought her best friend along when it was better for me to not interact with anyone but family. I'm certain she told her everything. Commenter: I would tell your family exactly what transpired and send your new BAL a link to these posts. You've overcome so much. Keep moving forward and cut the toxic out of your life. Best wishes and many, many blessings for your future happiness and success. OOP. Thank you. I'm going to see my parents tomorrow along with my brother. They will probably ask me how it went, and I will tell them exactly what happened. Story 2. My partner wants to name our child after his recently deceased mother, and I won't leave him because of it. Original post April 20th, 2024. My partner lost his mother in March suddenly. She took her breathing tube out of her nose to blow it, and because she was half asleep, she forgot to put it back on and she drifted away. When she was found, it was too late. It was peaceful and honestly is the way I would want to go, with nothing but peace and comfort. I found out I was pregnant 7 months prior. We had a name picked out. After her passing, however, he has decided to take it upon himself to change our child's name to her name. You know, when a person gives a name such a bad taste in your mouth, that's what she did to this name. She wasn't a horrible person but she wasn't the best. She had moments where she was wonderful, but most of the time she was, and please don't take this the wrong way, because I hate to talk so about the dead, but she was a monster-in-law. She wouldn't take care of herself. She would get taken to hospital, get attention from her children, get back into good health, get sent home, and when things returned to normal and the attention would suffice, she would do it all over again. She needed her children's sole attention, always. She needed to feel important, wanted, needed. It made me feel bad and honestly broke my heart that she felt she needed to do this all the time to get any attention. Now she is gone, and as much as I loved her and miss her, and believe me I do not want that name associated with our child. I don't want to think about her every time I talk to our child. I don't want the stigma I have towards that name forced onto our child. We have actually argued over it. I have tried to compromise by making it a middle name. I have tried to add a name to it, so it's one whole name, but he won't budge. I have told him we have a name already. He won't budge. I'm at a point where I want to leave him because it's being forced onto me and I don't want it. I want our child to have a name that has nothing to do with anyone we know. Our son has his stepdad's name as a middle name. Our daughter has his grandma's name as a middle name, and our oldest has his stepdad's mother's name as a first name. I want this child to have something simplistic and beautiful. I don't want to be reminded of someone who is so toxic to herself it ate away at others. Can someone give me some advice on what I can do? Please, I am at a loss. I honestly don't want to do this with him anymore because of how he is acting. I caved with every other child, but this name I cannot and will not cave on. I love the name that was already chosen. Edit. I am not a doormat. I find it rather cruel a few of you have said that. I agreed on our other children's names before they were born. I need advice on how to handle this without breaking his heart, and being respectful and tactful, but also showing him this isn't a good idea. Also, I did love his mother. She was a very damaged individual and made it hard to love her, but I still did. I respected her and cared for her deeply. I find it horrible that's even being questioned. She did bad things, but that didn't make her a bad person, just a lonely, sad person who made mistakes. As for people saying if a name is reason to separate, then you are a problem. It's not that at all. It's the fact that we had a name already chosen and he has now, in the midst of grief, changed it to a name that was never ever discussed, and I feel like I have zero say. It may be hormones prompting this. I want him to heal. I want to heal. Even his sister thinks it's a bad idea. I have him in grief counseling and she wants to help me with this. We will go together and apart. I will do all I can to stand by him during this process. I will not talk about the name any further with him until he has had some time to come to terms with things. I will continue on with our plans to name her what was originally agreed upon. Thank you guys. Relevant comments. Comment 1. His mother lived with his sister. She was perfectly content as that's what she wanted. As for her problems, she would eat things that were bad for herself and end up in the hospital knowing fully well they would put her there. She was on a strict diet from her doctor because of medical issues. When she would get to that point, she honestly really bad, it ended up being a big fiasco. Usually it's a 3-day stint in the hospital with them, doing a paracentesis and checking her fluid work. It got to where she was having them done continuously that she ended up getting referred to have them done monthly, and it was determined it was from all the salty food she was eating. She got to points where she would stop going to the table to eat because she wanted to watch the TV and get weak muscles in her legs, so she had issues moving, at one point becoming completely bedbound. Multiple times she ended up in rehab facilities because she got to points that she stopped doing anything and lost mobility, and had to get it back with the help of specialists. Her daughter couldn't force her to do anything, and if she tried, she would get my partner involved to argue with her, so she was stuck between a rock and a hard place. As for names, we both chose the first names and we both agreed on middle names. It was always a compromise on both of our parts. We always named together, and if it was a name I didn't truly care for as a first name, we used it as a middle name, especially if it had meaning to him. We would find a name that fit with the other name that we both agreed on so it would flow nicely. As for me being an asshole about children's lives being solely on economic stability, I never stated that. I just stated I am able to afford another, so why shouldn't I? I grew up poor with 4 siblings and we struggled. I make sure we don't struggle, and I want a big family. My kids will hopefully never know how it was to live off of $50 a month with 4 kids and an adult food-wise. Comment 2. Hawkeye in DC. Hold on, he's already claimed the middle names of his family members for your 3 other kids. Am I reading this right? OP. We both agreed on them, yes. He loves his grandmother, she raised him and his sister. I never knew her, but everyone who did said she was the sweetest soul. I was happy to give our child her middle name. Our son had his stepfather's middle name. He was an absolute peach, and he took me on as his own child, and I called him Dad. I waited 4 years to name our son after him. He has his middle name. Our daughter has his father's mother's name, and I love the name. It was honestly a name we had previously chosen, and the name, once we found that it was a family name, it was decided. We have a name picked for this child, but now he wants to completely change it and not compromise. I won't budge and neither will he, so I'm just not going to talk or explain to him anymore. Our child will be named what we had originally agreed upon and nothing more. Comment 3. His mother wasn't the best person growing up from what her daughter has stated in conversation, made some bad mistakes that cost her a lot. I loved her dearly, but she always needed to be centered in everything. Our relationship was strained for a year after we got together, but we got through it and had a great relationship afterwards. She would pull ranks and turn siblings against each other to get what she wanted, even if it wasn't good for her. Drugs were a problem, self-medicating was a problem. She acted like she had nothing when that wasn't the case. She loved the name we had picked for our daughter. We were extremely close and we actually asked what she thought. She loved her grandkids and myself very much, and us her. She never should have left so soon. It was an accident. I hate talking about her in this way because she is gone and you don't talk ill of the dead. I never resented her. Update June 6, 2024. Hello guys, I know it's been a month, but I wanted to update you guys on the situation since I made my last post. Little backstory, if you didn't know my situation. Partner decided to change our daughter's name without talking to me about it after his mother's recent passing without even accepting a compromise, and I contemplated leaving him. Well guys, a big flip to our story. This whole time, it's been confirmed a girl until 2 weeks ago. We are having a little boy. Every ultrasound has been wrong. We went to my final appointment and the high-risk doctor confirmed we all have a little boy due in 2 weeks. It broke my heart to see him shut down in the office. He actually left my appointment. He became distant, so I sat down with him, and we had a talk after our babies were sleeping. I'm going to give our son his mother's surname as a middle name. It cheered him up, but I get it's not the same. Things have drastically calmed down since we got his mom's ashes back. I bought him a beautiful necklace earned for Father's Day, which has his mother's picture and a beautiful quote on it. He can have a little piece of her with him forever. He doesn't know about it yet, but I know he is going to love it. His therapy is going well, as is mine, and as is our daughter's. We are all healing very well. We are stronger than ever. Thank you all for the advice, good and bad. Relevant comments. Extreme Demon UK. It's clear this poor chap was hugely grief-stricken and was not thinking straight. Whatever the circumstances, I'm glad things have calmed down. Sounds like he is getting help to deal with his wife, and is very fortunate to have such a lovely, caring wife. OOP. Thank you so much. We are nowhere out of the woods yet, but we are trying to get through the issues at hand. As long as he is willing to fight to get mentally better, I will fight with him. Being pregnant and dealing with this has been hard. My emotions have been all over the place too, with dealing with our kids, and him and hormones and being in and out of the hospital. It's been a battle, but him being active and wanting help and doing what's necessary has calmed everything down immensely. I'm just glad to have a slither of him back, and I'm sure with continued therapy, I'll have the man I had come back to me, with my own therapy too. They have shown me that I wasn't 100% innocent in this, and that me giving in with our other children was a big problem that didn't help with this issue, and I take blame for that. I have been working to be able to not people please, and it's gotten to where I have boundaries now, which I never thought would make me so happy. Story 3. My new employee is the parent of my child's bully. Original post June 27, 2023. I received a promotion last month after several stressful years. The money will be life-changing. I'm working out of a different office much closer to home. I'll be doing work I care about, and I'll have more time with my family. The company filled an open role at my new location just before I was promoted. I didn't participate in the hiring process for this person. I did not know they hired the parent of my child's bully. This isn't just a few meetings with the principal kind of bully situation. We almost lost our child because of a Timmy. We moved our child and their siblings to a different school. Then we sold our home and moved to the other side of the county. We had to involve the police at one point, resulting in being granted a restraining order against Timmy, who is now finally facing other legal consequences for his behavior. Both kids are still quite young, so I'm still shocked at the cruel and awful things I witnessed my child go through at the hands of a peer, feeling helpless and out of control while we begged the school and his parents to intervene. Our family life is finally settling down, and this new work opportunity felt like a new start for us after the pain and fear we've gone through. My child is finally beginning to heal and get their life and joy back. We're all in treatment as a family and individually to help recover from all of this. The company hired Timmy's mother, Jane, to fill this role, and I will be managing her. My first day meeting the team, she went pale when she saw me. I'm sure I probably did the same. I know everyone else on this team and have great rapport with them. I don't communicate with Jane unless I have to, and it's in writing. What should I do? I'm not quitting, and I'm not taking a demotion. Should I meet with Jane and HR to discuss this and set expectations? That feels like I'm betraying my child and my family, but professionally I know it's an option. Do I ignore it and hope she's so uncomfortable she quits? Should I ask HR about offering her a transfer? At a certain point in the last year, she behaved just about as badly as her child did, and the judge considered including her in the restraining order, but was instead issued a warning on the record. I checked, and the two of us working together isn't a violation of the restraining order, but it does open up the possibility. I'm just so stunned, I don't know what to do. We don't speak or interact unless we have to, and some team members and a few of my colleagues in management have noticed, but not said much about it. I'm at such a loss. I have no idea how to handle this. Update June 5, 2024, 1 year later. I appreciate that AM allowed me the space to get my thoughts in order before I said or did anything stupid. I should have gone to HR my first day as Jane's manager. But I was not thinking straight. Things had been going so well at home that I didn't want to jeopardize it by bringing Jane back into our lives. Within a few days of my question posting, my junior team lead, Sam, asked me directly about my weird behavior around Jane, which had been going on for about 2 weeks or so. In the org chart, I'm Sam's superior, but not by much. Sam and I have worked together in the past, but not closely enough that he knew about my connection to Jane. Her child bullied and assaulted my child, and the courts were involved, among other things. I told Sam about my history with Jane, providing limited details with minimal legal documentation and proof, which my lawyer advised me on, and he was shocked, but incredibly supportive. He let me know that Jane had been very vocal with several other staff, including him, since my first day, warning staff to stay away from me, that I was toxic, dangerous, that I had slept with her husband and broken up her marriage. All I could do was laugh at that. It hadn't occurred to me that keeping my distance would give Jane a chance to try to damage my reputation, but she didn't get very far. I've worked with everyone else on this team on and off for most of my career, so they were all very skeptical. Sam and I met with HR and walked through my history with Jane to create a plan for Sam to manage her going forward. HR was wonderfully supportive and thanked me for communicating with her in writing, as it was probably the safest thing I could have done under the circumstances. Then we learned a few things we didn't know. HR had been planning to reach out to me, because when my predecessor hired Jane, he had done so without putting in the paperwork for a background check. This is one of the many reasons I replaced this manager. Our company requires us to use a fingerprinting service run out of the sheriff's office for a full background check before starting employment. My predecessor let her start without one and just marked passed in her employee profile without adding the appropriate documentation. When pressed, he said he lost it. HR was able to confirm Jane had never gone. Before I started as her boss, Jane had been given a 30-day grace period from HR to get fingerprinted, missed multiple appointments, and had been pushing back on it with my predecessor's support. He'd left no documentation for me or record of this issue, which didn't surprise us, and now there was only a week left in the grace period. HR needed to discuss terminating Jane if she didn't get fingerprinted for her background check within the next 10 days. All of this is based on state regulations and company policy, and thankfully had nothing to do with me. There was no other job or department she could be moved to that didn't require a background check. Sam took over from there, and all I know is they met with Jane, explained that Sam would be her manager going forward, and made an appointment for her to get fingerprinted that day, and she enthusiastically agreed to go. Anne didn't. Anne never returned any calls or contact attempts from HR or Sam, which was honestly the best way this could have washed out. My family is doing better than ever, work is great, and my amazing kiddo is healing and finding joy again. They even helped their new school start an anti-bullying and mental health program to help younger students if they feel unsafe. We're going to be traveling to see relatives and have some fun this summer, so we're very excited. I feel like a weight's been lifted off my chest. A huge thank you to the AM community for just letting me get all my thoughts out.